If you can still do this at 60, your body is not just aging, it is outperforming the majority of men your age. Because here's the truth most people don't hear. Aging is not defined by your birthday. It is defined by your strength, stamina, mobility, and control over your own body. And by the time most men reach 60, many silently lose these markers, not because of disease alone, but because of inactivity, hormonal shifts, muscle loss, and declining cardiovascular efficiency. But if you can still do certain physical and functional movements at 60, you are not just fine. You are biologically ahead. Let's break this down in a medically grounded way. Your age is not the real enemy, but the belief that age automatically means decline is one of the most dangerous ideas men adopt after 60. The human body does not wake up at a certain birthday and decide to become weak. It responds to signals. It responds to demand. It responds to use. And when those signals disappear, when movement decreases, when challenge is removed, the body begins to downregulate strength, not because it is supposed to fail, but because it is designed to conserve energy. That is where the real story of aging begins. Here's a hard truth that most people never hear. What you stop doing, you start losing. If walking becomes less frequent, the legs weaken. If lifting becomes rare, grip strength declines. If balance is not challenged, stability fades. This is not aging in a destructive sense, it is adaptation. The body is always efficient, always adjusting to what you demand from it. So the question is never, how old are you? The real question is, what are you still asking your body to do? And this is where the mindset shift becomes powerful. Because two men can be the same age, 60 years old, but live in completely different biological realities. One man believes he is old and starts avoiding stairs, avoids long walks, avoids effort, avoids discomfort. Slowly, his body reflects that decision. His muscles reduce, his stamina fades, his confidence drops. The other man refuses to accept that limitation. He walks daily, even when he doesn't feel like it. He keeps his body under light but consistent demand. And his body responds by preserving strength, preserving balance, preserving independence. Here's the hook many people miss. Your body does not care about your age, it cares about your activity level. When you challenge it, it adapts upward. When you neglect it, it adapts downward. That is why some men in their 60s can outwalk, outlast, and outperform men decades younger. Not because they escaped aging, but because they never stopped signaling strength to their physiology. Think about something as simple as getting up from a chair. If you can do it smoothly, without using your hands, without hesitation, without struggle, that single movement reflects a chain of preserved systems: leg strength, core stability, joint mobility, neural coordination. Now imagine someone who slowly stops using those patterns. They begin to rely on support, then assistance, then avoidance. The body does not suddenly fail, it gradually becomes untrained. Another hidden hook is this: frailty is often trained, not inherited. Many men assume weakness is genetic or unavoidable, but in reality, it is often the result of long-term inactivity layered over years. Muscles do not vanish overnight. Balance does not disappear suddenly. These are slow changes built on repeated behavior. Even the heart follows this rule. A heart that is regularly challenged through walking, stair climbing, or light exercise maintains efficiency. A heart that is rarely challenged becomes less responsive. This is why effort matters more than intensity. You don't need extreme training, you need consistent demand. And here is something most men underestimate. Confidence is physical before it is mental. When your body moves well, your mind feels strong. When your body struggles, your mindset begins to shrink. That is why maintaining physical capability is not just about health, it is about identity. It shapes how you see yourself in daily life, how you move through space, how you engage with the world. So when we say age is not your limit, it is not motivational exaggeration. It is a biological reality backed by how human physiology responds to use and disuse. The body remains responsive far longer than most people believe, but only as long as it is given a reason to respond. Strength is not something that fades overnight, and it is not something reserved only for the young. It is a decision, repeated so consistently that it becomes a lifestyle. Most men believe strength is a fixed trait, either you have it or you lose it with age, but the reality is far more empowering. Strength is dynamic. It is built through repetition, and it is maintained through discipline. And the moment discipline stops, decline begins. Here's a powerful hook. Your body does not remember your age, it remembers your habits. If your habits signal movement, resistance, and effort, your body adapts accordingly. If your habits signal rest, avoidance, and inactivity, your body adapts in the opposite direction. That means strength is not something you had in the past. It is something you are either reinforcing today or slowly letting go of. At 60, strength is no longer about lifting the heaviest weight or running the fastest distance. It is about consistency. It is about showing up for your body even when motivation is low. It is about choosing movement when comfort feels easier. Every small action becomes a vote for strength. Every walk, every stretch, every stair climbed is a signal to your muscles and nervous system that they are still needed. Here's another hook. Discipline at 60 is more powerful than talent at 20. A young body can rely on natural reserves, but an aging body depends on maintenance. That means every act of effort carries more value than it did earlier in life. When you train at 60, you are not just building muscle, you are preventing loss. You are not just improving fitness, you are preserving independence. Strength is also neurological. It is not only about muscles, but about the connection between brain and body. When you repeatedly perform physical tasks, your nervous system becomes more efficient. Movements become smoother, reaction time improves, balance stabilizes. But when movement is reduced, that connection weakens. This is why consistent physical effort keeps older men sharp, not just physically, but mentally. Here is a critical hook. What you repeat, you reinforce. What you avoid, you weaken. Strength follows this rule strictly. If you repeatedly sit, your sitting muscles dominate. If you repeatedly walk, your walking muscles dominate. If you repeatedly challenge balance, your stability improves. The body is not emotional, it is adaptive. Many men over 60 unintentionally step into a cycle of comfort. They reduce physical strain because they believe it will protect them. But the paradox is that avoidance creates fragility. The less you challenge your body, the more sensitive it becomes to effort. A short walk starts feeling tiring. A flight of stairs starts feeling steep. Not because the task changed, but because the body adapted downward. Another hook that shifts perspective. Strength is not measured in the gym, it is measured in daily life. Can you carry your groceries without strain? Can you rise from the floor without support? Can you walk without hesitation? These are not fitness goals, they are independence markers. And they are built through small, repeated actions, not occasional bursts of effort. Consistency also builds confidence. When a man proves to himself daily that he can move, lift, and endure, he develops a quiet psychological resilience. He stops identifying with weakness and starts identifying with capability. This identity shift is powerful because it reinforces behavior. A strong identity produces strong actions, and strong actions reinforce a strong body. Here's another important hook. You don't rise to motivation, you fall to repetition. That means the body does not wait for inspiration, it responds to routine. If strength is part of your routine, it stays. If it is not, it fades. Even at 60, the body remains responsive. Muscles still grow when challenged. Endurance still improves when trained. Balance still sharpens when practiced. The system does not shut down, it simply waits for instruction. And every act of discipline is an instruction to remain strong. Here's a hook most people underestimate. The strongest medicine in your body is not in a bottle. It is inside your muscles. Muscle is not just tissue that moves your body. It is a living metabolic organ that constantly communicates with every system in your body. And after 60, this becomes even more critical because muscle is no longer just about strength. It becomes about survival, stability, and protection against disease. Muscle is deeply connected to how your body regulates blood sugar. Every time you use your muscles, walking, standing, lifting, climbing stairs, they act like a sponge for glucose, pulling sugar out of the bloodstream and using it for energy. That means stronger muscles directly reduce the risk of diabetes and metabolic dysfunction. When muscle mass declines, this system becomes less efficient, and blood sugar begins to rise more easily. That is why inactive aging is so strongly linked with metabolic disease, not because the body is broken, but because the muscle engine is underused. Here's another hook. Every step you take is a dose of medicine your doctor can't prescribe. Physical activity is not just exercise, it is biochemical signaling. When muscle contracts, it releases myokines, chemical messengers that reduce inflammation, improve brain function, and regulate fat metabolism. These signals travel throughout the body like internal medicine, affecting the heart, liver, brain, and immune system. The more active your muscles are, the more protective signals your body produces. Muscle also acts as a protective reserve. At 60, the body becomes more vulnerable to illness, injury, and stress. If muscle mass is high, the body has a buffer. It can withstand illness better, recover faster, and maintain strength during periods of stress or inactivity. But when muscle mass is low, even minor illnesses can lead to long recovery times and significant weakness. Here's a powerful hook. Frailty does not start with age. It starts when muscle stops being used. Many men assume weakness is a natural consequence of aging, but in reality, it is often a consequence of muscle inactivity over time. The body does not lose muscle randomly. It loses what it no longer needs. If you stop demanding strength, the body stops maintaining it. Muscle is also directly tied to hormonal health. It influences testosterone levels, insulin sensitivity, and even growth hormone activity. These hormones are not just about masculinity or youth. They regulate energy, recovery, mood, and cognitive sharpness. When muscle mass is preserved, hormonal systems tend to remain more stable. When muscle declines, hormonal balance becomes more fragile, contributing to fatigue, weakness, and slower recovery. Another hook to understand deeply: muscle is the only tissue that protects you while you are alive and disappears when you stop using it. Bones remain, organs remain, but muscle is dynamic. It adapts continuously. That means it requires regular stimulation to exist in a strong form. It is not permanent. It is earned every day. Even basic tasks like standing up, walking, or carrying objects are not simple movements in biological terms. They are full-body coordination events involving muscles, nerves, and energy systems. When muscle strength is high, these tasks feel effortless. When muscle strength declines, the same tasks begin to feel like effortful challenges. This shift is often gradual, which is why many men do not notice it until it becomes limiting. Here's another hook. Your independence after 60 is written in your muscle tissue. The ability to live without assistance, move freely, and handle daily tasks is directly tied to muscle strength. Muscle is what allows autonomy. It is what keeps a man from becoming dependent on external support for basic life functions. Muscle also plays a key role in protecting joints. Strong muscles stabilize the knees, hips, and spine, reducing wear and tear on cartilage and ligaments. Without this support, joints are forced to bear more stress, which increases pain, stiffness, and injury risk over time. This is why maintaining muscle is one of the most effective ways to preserve joint health and mobility in later years. Here's the final hook within this insight. Muscle is not about looking strong. It is about staying alive with strength intact in every system of the body. Here's a hook that most people never consider. Your heart does not age by the calendar. It ages by the load you place on it. Every beat, every step, every climb, every moment of effort is either training your heart to stay strong or allowing it to become less efficient. After 60, this becomes even more important because cardiovascular efficiency is the foundation of everything else: energy, mobility, brain clarity, and endurance. The heart is not just a pump, it is a performance organ. It adapts to demand. When you regularly walk, climb stairs, or engage in moderate physical activity, your heart becomes more efficient at delivering oxygen to tissues. That means it does more work with less effort. Your resting heart rate improves, your recovery improves, and your stamina increases. But when physical demand decreases, the heart adapts in the opposite direction. It does not become weak suddenly, it becomes untrained. Here's a powerful hook. A strong heart at 60 can outperform an untrained heart at 40. Age alone is not the determining factor. Conditioning is. Two men of different ages can have completely different cardiovascular health depending on their lifestyle. The heart responds more to consistency than to age, more to movement than to genetics. When you engage in regular activity, even something as simple as brisk walking, your heart strengthens its stroke volume, the amount of blood it pumps per beat. This means fewer beats are needed to circulate the same amount of oxygen. That is why trained individuals often have lower resting heart rates. It is not weakness, it is efficiency. A slower, stronger heart is often healthier than a fast, strained one. Here's another hook. Fatigue is not always a sign of age. It is often a sign of an untrained heart. Many men assume that getting tired easily is a natural part of aging, but in reality, it is frequently linked to reduced cardiovascular conditioning. When the heart and lungs are not regularly challenged, oxygen delivery becomes less efficient, and even small tasks begin to feel exhausting. The heart also plays a major role in cognitive function. The brain depends on continuous oxygen and nutrient supply. When cardiovascular health declines, mental clarity, focus, and memory can also be affected. This is why men with better heart health often report sharper thinking and more stable mood. The connection between heart and brain is constant and immediate. Here's a critical hook. Your energy level is not a personality trait, it is a circulation problem. Many people believe low energy is just part of aging, but energy is largely determined by how effectively your cardiovascular system delivers oxygen and nutrients to tissues. If circulation is strong, energy is strong. If circulation is weak, fatigue becomes more frequent. The heart also adapts positively to controlled stress. When you climb stairs or walk briskly, you create a mild cardiovascular challenge. The heart responds by becoming stronger over time. This is called physiological adaptation. It is the reason moderate, consistent activity is one of the most powerful protective factors against cardiovascular decline. Another hook that changes perspective. The heart does not need extreme exercise, it needs repeated demand. You do not have to run marathons or perform intense workouts to maintain heart health. You need consistency. Daily movement, even at moderate intensity, is enough to maintain and even improve cardiac function over time. Blood vessel health is also directly influenced by activity. Regular movement helps maintain arterial flexibility and reduces stiffness in blood vessels. This improves circulation and reduces strain on the heart. When blood vessels remain flexible, the heart does not have to work as hard to push blood through the system. Here's another hook. A tired heart does not announce itself loudly. It whispers through fatigue, slow recovery, and reduced stamina. Many men ignore these early signs, thinking they are normal aging changes, when in reality they are often early indicators of reduced cardiovascular efficiency. Even after 60, the heart retains a remarkable ability to adapt. It responds to walking, breathing efficiency improves with training, and recovery capacity can increase with consistent effort. The cardiovascular system is one of the most adaptable systems in the human body, and it continues to respond well into later decades of life when it is regularly engaged. Here's a hook that changes the entire way you see aging. Your independence is not decided by your age, it is decided by your function. At 60 and beyond, what truly matters is not how many years you have lived, but how freely you can move through those years. Function is the real currency of aging, and it determines whether a man lives with autonomy or dependence. Function means your ability to perform real-life movements without assistance, hesitation, or strain. It is not about gym performance or athletic records. It is about whether you can stand up from a chair smoothly, walk without fatigue, climb stairs without stopping, bend, lift, carry, and balance without fear. These are not basic abilities, they are the foundation of human independence. Here's a powerful hook. The moment function declines, freedom begins to shrink. Many men do not notice this transition because it is gradual. First, stairs feel slightly harder. Then long walks become shorter. Then carrying weight feels uncomfortable. Then movements are avoided altogether. This slow reduction in function is often mistaken for normal aging, but it is actually a decline in physical capability that can often be slowed or reversed with activity. function is deeply tied to neuromuscular coordination. Every movement you perform is a conversation between your brain, nerves, muscles, and joints. When you regularly move, this communication stays fast and efficient. But when movement is reduced, the signal weakens. That is why coordination, balance, and reaction time decline over time in inactive individuals. The body is not forgetting how to move, it is simply not practicing. Here's another hook. Independence is not lost suddenly. It is surrendered gradually through reduced movement. Many men unintentionally accept less activity because it feels easier in the short term. But every avoided movement sends a message to the body that the task is no longer needed. Over time, the body complies by reducing capacity. Functional strength is also what protects against falls. A fall at 60 or beyond is not just an accident, it can be a life-altering event. Strong legs, stable hips, and good balance dramatically reduce this risk. Being able to correct your posture quickly, adjust your step, or catch yourself when slipping is a direct result of maintained function. Here's a critical hook. You are only as independent as your slowest movement allows. It is not the fastest or strongest action that defines your capability, but the weakest link in your functional chain. If rising from a chair is difficult, if balance is unstable, if walking feels uncertain, then independence is already being affected, even if other abilities remain intact. Function also determines participation in life. Social engagement, travel, hobbies, and daily responsibilities all depend on physical capability. When movement becomes limited, life naturally becomes smaller, not because desire changes, but because capacity changes. This is why maintaining function is directly tied to maintaining quality of life. Another hook that reframes everything. Functional decline is not inevitable acceleration. It is often reversible stagnation. The body responds to use at any age. Muscles can regain strength, balance can improve, and coordination can be retrained even after long periods of inactivity. The system remains adaptable as long as it is challenged. Simple daily actions carry enormous weight in preserving function. Standing instead of sitting when possible, walking instead of staying stationary, using stairs instead of elevators, and practicing balance during routine activities all reinforce neuromuscular pathways. These repeated actions maintain the language between brain and body. Here's another hook. Your body does not retire. Your habits retire your body. The concept of retirement applies to work, not to movement. The body is designed for continuous use. When it stops being used fully, it adapts downward in capability. When it is used consistently, it preserves and even enhances function over time. Even at 60 and beyond, the nervous system remains highly plastic. This means coordination, balance, and movement efficiency can still improve with practice. The ability to regain function is one of the most powerful truths about the human body, and it challenges the belief that decline is fixed or permanent. Here's a hook that most people overlook until it's too late. It is never your age that decides your decline. It is the moment you stop trying to improve. The human body does not have an expiry date for growth. Even at 60, 70, or beyond, it remains responsive, adaptable, and capable of rebuilding strength, endurance, and stability. The only real barrier is the belief that improvement is no longer possible. Many men assume that after a certain age, change is no longer realistic. That belief itself becomes the limitation, because the body follows instruction. If you instruct it through action, repetition, and movement, it adapts upward. If you instruct it through inactivity and avoidance, it adapts downward. The truth is simple but powerful. Your body is still listening. Here's a critical hook. Decline is not a sudden event. It is a slow accumulation of ignored potential. Most physical weakness does not appear overnight. It builds gradually through years of small choices, choosing rest over movement, comfort over effort, stillness over activity. The good news is that this process works both ways. Just as decline is gradual, recovery and rebuilding are also gradual. At 60 and beyond, rebuilding does not require extreme transformation. It requires consistency. Small actions repeated daily have more impact than intense efforts done occasionally. Walking every day, stretching regularly, maintaining light resistance activity, and staying mobile throughout the day all send a clear message to the body. We are still active, we are still capable, we are still in use. Here's another hook. Your future strength is hidden in what you do today, not in what you used to do in the past. Many men rely on memories of past fitness or past strength as reassurance, but the body does not store strength as memory. It stores it as current demand. If demand disappears, capacity reduces. If demand returns, capacity rebuilds. Even after long periods of inactivity, the body retains what is called muscle memory. This means previously trained muscles and movement patterns can regain strength faster than expected when reactivated. This is why even small efforts can produce noticeable improvement over time. The system is designed for recovery, not permanent loss. Here's a powerful hook. You do not need to be extreme. You need to be consistent enough to be undeniable. The myth that improvement requires intense workouts discourages many older men from even starting. But the body at 60 responds extremely well to moderate, regular activity. The key is frequency, not intensity. The repetition of effort is what rewires strength, endurance, and balance. The nervous system also remains highly adaptable. Every movement you repeat strengthens neural pathways. That means coordination, reaction time, and stability can still improve significantly with practice. The brain and body continue to communicate efficiently when that communication is used regularly. When it is not used, it becomes less precise. Here's another hook that reframes everything. Your body does not fear age, it fears neglect. It does not interpret years as weakness. It interprets inactivity as irrelevance. When movement decreases, the body reallocates resources away from unused systems. When movement increases, it restores function to those same systems. Even emotional resilience is connected to physical activity. Movement influences mood-regulating chemicals in the brain, reduces stress hormones, and improves mental clarity. That is why rebuilding physical strength often leads to improved confidence and motivation. The mind follows the body's condition more closely than most people realize. Another important hook: you are never starting from zero, you are restarting from experience. Even if strength has declined, the body still remembers patterns of movement. It still understands walking, lifting, balancing, and coordination. This means rebuilding is not learning from scratch, it is reactivating what already exists within the system. At 60 and beyond, the goal is not perfection or athletic performance. The goal is restoration of capability. It is the ability to live without unnecessary limitation, to move without hesitation, and to rebuild capacity step by step. The body continues to respond as long as it is given a reason to respond.